The inner critic. We've all got one, maybe more than one. Some report having a committee of them. They tell us why we shouldn't do what we're wanting to do in the way that we're planning to do it. Maybe the anti-pep talks before making the big brave move. The regret talk that reminds you of everything you really should have said but didn't, or shouldn't have said but did. So what does your inner critic look like? I recently learned mine is called Rod. Or one of them is. Anyway, he hates it when I make too much noise and often pops up to tell me, yeah, you're drawing too much attention to yourself. Like, pipe down a little bit, mate. I think he's around here somewhere. Yeah, I can hear him. Rod, I suppose, is a bit of a mixture of experiences I had when I was young. Times certainly performing on the drums when I was feeling vulnerable and nervous and excited about what I was doing. Times when I probably needed some encouragement and just the permission to express myself. And these voices popped up, real people telling me to stop playing so loudly. On one occasion, literally yelling at me to shut up. It never served to completely stop me from making music, but that message has kind of integrated and become a story that I notice popping up quite a lot of the time. The voice or voices of our inner critic are not there to make life miserable. They're actually there to make us safe. Yet they don't realise that the thing that they're trying to keep us safe from are often the things that we really want to do. No, I think Rod is literally trying to keep me safe from the shame, the feelings that came through those moments when people, told me to shut up, told me to play more quietly. I've got frigging drumsticks in my hand. What am I supposed to do? The clinical psychologist Nick Wignall writes, the problem with the common advice about silencing your inner critic is that you can't. The harder you try to silence your inner critic, the louder and more intrusive it gets. The inner critic is part of us. It's wanting to help. It's needing to help. So, thanks, Rod. I know you are doing your best. It's just, it can be quite annoying and quite sort of suffocating at times. We often use words like destroy and fight and extinguish when searching for solutions to things like this, don't we? We try to shut it down, to silence it, to overcome it, to ignore it. But even if this works for a little while, the inner critic will always find new ways to return. Because when you treat your thoughts like an enemy, that's what they become. And enemies don't stay silent for long. They regather their strength and then come back fighting. Wignall writes that when people struggle with an especially harsh inner critic, it's almost always because they've unintentionally made the problem worse by trying to avoid or get rid of it. So what can we do instead? How do we flip our relationship with the inner critic, understanding it as a friend rather than an enemy? Start by giving it a name and a face and create an intention to get to know it through play and creativity. Let go of the militarized language, release the power struggle. Listen to how it actually is on your side. I met Rod through an exercise that we did in the Haven when Tula took us through a photography prompt to uncover and befriend the inner critic, to see what the inner critic actually looks like, to connect with it through a selfie. One of the amazing ideas that Tula shares in her Photo Yoga for the Mind course. Try this from a place of inner connection. Set an intention of curiosity and play. If you're feeling the mobilized stress of those fighting words, just take a moment to breathe. Feel the possibility of a little inner adventure. Think of a time when your inner critic was particularly loud and convinced you to avoid something or play it smaller than you wish you could have. Or think of something that you would love to do, start or explore right now, but when you think about it or try starting, there's a voice that takes you from a state of connected excitement into one of stress and doubt. Tune into the character. Who is speaking? Is your inner critic one person, or is it a committee of different characters? How do they feel about what you want to do? Are they angry, afraid, disparaging, sad, disappointed, protective? What do they sound like? What sort of words can you hear? Do you recognize their voice as somebody familiar to you? Or is it a voice that you don't recognize, the voice of a stranger? Do you see a clear face? Or is it more like a shadow or a silhouette? an ungraspable presence. Take a deep breath and embody this character for a moment. Use props, play with your appearance, or just pick up your camera and take a selfie exactly as you are. Don't overthink it, and take as many photos as you need. Maybe you're feeling the presence of that inner critical voice as you do this, about this. Capture that. What sort of face is it pulling? Bring that to the surface. Greet it through a selfie. Once you've finished taking photos, give your inner critic a name. Maybe like a Mr. Man or a Little Miss character. Mr. Stiff Upper Lip, Miss Know-It-All, Auntie Do It Properly, Professor Academic, Little Miss Be Quiet, or Rod. Or if it's a group of critics, name the different characters and the committee as a whole. The Council of Party Poopers, the Committee of Defence, the Safety Advisory Board of Unconstitutional Affairs, whatever. Look at the picture and thank that part of you for trying to keep you safe. Appreciate that it's done what it can with what it has to help avoid situations that are scary and painful for you. And set an intention to play with that inner critic as you step into your day and do the things that are important to you. We have a gallery of inner critics in the Haven. I'd love to learn more about yours and explore ways that you are playing with befriending your own inner critic. You can learn what other people are doing with theirs and come and connect with like-spirited people from around the world, all kind of exploring this stuff together. Come and join us. I would love to show you around our virtual village there. And if you want to spend time maybe exploring this stuff one-on-one with me, you can book a Pick the Lock session, which is a 60-minute choose your own price call. And we can get beneath the voice of your inner critic and see what wants to come to life within you. So we can come up with ways to shift your understanding of that voice, make friends with it, and work with it in service of those things that matter most to you in life. So I want to finish this video with a poem, which is If You Would Grow by Daniel F. Mead. If you would grow to your best self, be patient, not demanding, accepting, not condemning, nurturing, not withholding, self-marveling, not belittling, gently guiding, not pushing and punishing. For you are more sensitive than you know. Mankind is as tough as war, yet delicate as flowers. We can endure agonies, but we open fully only to warmth and light. And our need to grow is as fragile as a fragrance dispersed by storms of will, to return only when those storms are still. So accept, respect, attend your sensitivity. A flower cannot be opened with a hammer.